He was about to drive past the muddy village road, but something pulled him back. An old memory buried deep suddenly came rushing to the surface. Ayaan Kapoor, a powerful real estate tycoon, had just returned from signing a multi-million-dollar deal. Dressed in a crisp suit, he leaned back in his luxury car, windows rolled up to keep the dust out. His assistant sat beside him, scrolling through mails. But as the car slowed near a broken signboard pointing toward a small village, Ayaan's eyes fixed on something. No, someone outside. She was older now, her back bent slightly with age, wearing a faded sari. She carried a steel pot of water on her head and walked slowly toward a tiny mud hut at the corner of the village. Her face was thinner, her hair streaked with gray, but her eyes, they were unmistakable. "Stop the car," Ayaan said suddenly. His assistant frowned. "Sir, this place isn't safe." I said, "Stop the car." He stepped out, shoes sinking slightly into the damp earth, and walked toward the hut. The woman was just about to enter when he called out, "Shanta." She froze. Slowly, she turned. Her eyes widened as they met his. "Chuk," she whispered, covering her mouth. He hadn't heard that name in years, not since he was a lonely 7-year-old in a cold marble mansion cared for only by the warm hands of one kind soul. As Maid Shanta, tears filled her eyes as he stepped closer. "It's me," he said, voice shaking. "I never forgot you." Shanta dropped the pot from her head, water spilling across the dry earth, but she didn't care. Her hands trembled as she reached for Ayaan's face, gently touching his cheek like she used to when he was a boy. Her voice cracked. "Look at you. You've become a big man." Ayaan swallowed hard, emotions choking him. "And you're still the same. You still remember me." Shanta smiled faintly. "How could I forget my little Chotu? You cried every night for your mother, and I was the only one who could calm you down." Ayaan looked around. Her home was no more than a hut made of tin sheets and worn cloth. The roof leaked in one corner. There was barely enough room to stand straight. He couldn't believe the woman who once tucked him in every night was living like this. He sat beside her on the ground as she brewed tea on a tiny stove. "Why didn't you ever try to contact me?" "I didn't want anything from you," she said simply. "I knew you were living a big life. I was happy just knowing you made it." Ayaan looked at the calluses on her hands. The lines etched deep into her face. "You gave me everything and I gave you nothing." Shanta shook her head. "You gave me joy. You used to wait at the gate every evening just to see me." Ayaan laughed softly. "I used to fight with the other staff because I thought you were my real mother." They laughed, but there was pain under the smiles. His heart heavy. He had all the riches in the world but had forgotten the only person who made him feel loved as a child. He looked at her again. This time not with guilt but with purpose. He wasn't leaving her here, not anymore. That evening, Ayaan made a few quiet calls. The next morning, a black SUV pulled up near Shanta's hut. Work stepped out and began surveying the land. Confused, Shanta asked Ayaan, "What are they doing?" He gently held her hand. "We're here to build you a real house, one with strong walls, a proper kitchen and a roof that doesn't leak." Shanta shook her head, overwhelmed. "Oh, no, Ayaan, I never asked." "You didn't have to," he interrupted. "You gave me love when I had none. You fed me, protected me, held me through my nightmares. Let me give you the light you deserve." Tears welled in her eyes. "But I'm just a maid." "Why would you? You're not just a maid. You're the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered." In the weeks that followed, the village buzzed with activity. A beautiful house stood where her hut once did. But Ayaan didn't stop there. He installed a clean water system for the village, funded the local school, and started a medical clinic in Shanta's name. Shan was mobbed by children she didn't even know. Her little home became a place of hope. And every evening Ayaan would sit with her on the porch sipping tea. The same way they used to in the old days. He had searched the world for comfort, success, and family. But in the end he found it right where his childhood began. In the warmth of the woman who once rocked him to sleep with lullabies hummed under the moonlight. One afternoon a group of reporters showed up at the village. Word had spread about the billionaire who built an entire infrastructure in a forgotten town. Not for fame but for an old maid he called Ma. Ayaan stayed Shanta as flashing cameras tried to capture the moment. But he wasn't interested in the headlines. He simply said, "This isn't charity. This is love returned." A journalist asked, "Why not just send money? Why do all this yourself?" Ayaan looked at Shanta and smiled. "Because money can't repay what she gave me. She didn't just raise me. She taught me how to be a human when the world only wanted me to be rich." That evening, Shanta sat beside him, holding his hand like she used to when he was a scared little boy. "You've made me proud, Beta," she whispered. He looked at her with misty eyes. "I just you to never feel alone again." And she didn't. Years later, even after Ayaan passed away, the school and clinic kept running, supported by a foundation he had set up in her name. In the village, children still grew up hearing the story of a rich man who never forgot the hands that once held him with love. And an old maid whose kindness changed not just one life, but an entire community. One rainy evening a young woman carrying a crying baby walked up the muddy path toward the house Ayaan had built for Shanta. She looked tired and lost, drenched from the storm. Shanta opened the door, recognized the girl instantly, and her heart clenched. It was Priya, the daughter of a woman who once worked in the same mansion where Shanta had served. Her mother had passed years ago and knew what became of Priya. Without a second thought, Shanta pulled her inside, wrapped the baby in a warm towel and fed Priya herself. When Ayaan returned from a meeting in the city and saw the scene, Shanta rocking the baby while Priya rested on the couch, he paused at the door and simply smiled. "This house keeps growing," he said softly, placing a hand on Shanta's shoulder. She nodded. "Because love always makes room." From day, Priya was welcomed into the family. Ayaan found her work in the foundation's local office and her child was given the same opportunities he once received. Education, safety, and above all, belonging. And so, the legacy of kindness continued. Passed from a poor maid to a billionaire and now to another forgotten soul. Proving once again that when love leads the way, even the smallest hands can change the future.